Hey folks, welcome back to the podcast. It's your boy Deron Harris, and this is the Deron Harris Podcast. Today is episode 9, Why You Suck at Relationships, Part 2. That's right, folks. How was your week this week? Did you have a good week? I had a really good week. And I hope you had a good week as well. I want to give out a couple of shout-outs before I'm just going to get right into it. I want to give out some shout-outs. I thought this was really cool. And some people were kind of skeptical about this, but I figured after a while they probably would do this. But I want to give a big shout out to McDonald's. That's right. Mickey D's gets a shout out today for pulling out of Russia after 20 years of doing business in that country. And they pulled out over the bullshit that they doing over in Russia. And I want to give McDonald's a big shout out. Now, I haven't eaten McDonald's in quite some time, but I'll tell you what, just because of that, I might go over there and get me a Big Mac and some fries today, just to show my solidarity for McDonald's and the greatness. So, shout out to McDonald's for doing that. You know, it's there's a lot of companies that are in Russia that are still doing business in Russia, and I don't know if I can continue to support them. You know, I mean. You know, I get it, but at the end of the day, at what cost is business? I mean, I would if I ran a business and I had a client that was murdering motherfuckers, I think I might not need him to be my client anymore. So, you know, they need to kind of put their priorities in perspective and ask themselves, are we supporting the right cause here? So, again, hats off and shout out to McDonald's for pulling out of Russia, like closing up shop. You know, I mean, you better get your last. I mean, I wonder what McDonald's was like in Russia anyway, because, you know, I mean, I know that they do like regional food. If they go to a different country, they do like the food of that region, and I can't really think. I mean, I know they have caviar, but like potatoes and shit. I mean, what comes in a Happy Meal? Like a fucking potato? I mean, I don't get it. I don't know. So maybe it might be a good thing. Maybe it might be a bad thing. So. But I know that, you know, other places are probably going to start following suit because, you know, McDonald's is the benchmark in the fast food restaurant corporation hierarchy. So I'm assuming that, you know, there will be some other entities pulling out of Russia soon. So. Again, shout out to McDonald's for that. Today's Dope Shit Award, though, I'm really excited about this. And I've been doing, I've noticed there's been a trend. The Dope Shit Award has been going to some ladies, and I'm going to continue the trend. Today, I want to give today's Dope Shit Award to Aisha Cole, also known as Pinky. Now, Aisha Cole, if you are not familiar with who she is, this lady is a very, very successful owner and operator of a plant-based burger chain in Atlanta called The Slutty Vegan. Now, this sister is a force to be reckoned with. She went to college and in Atlanta. She went to Clark University in Atlanta, and she graduated from Clark University. Now, what she wanted to do before she even jumped into the food business, she had moved to Los Angeles because she had wanted to become an actress. And then eventually she moved from LA and bounced over to New York because she was still trying to, you know, jump into that business. But she ended up actually working in television production. And I think she worked on, what's her name? Ayanna Saved My Life or something like that. A few, you know, very popular TV shows, which she was very successful at that. While she was in New York, though, she owned a Jamaican restaurant in Harlem. She opened a Jamaican restaurant, and it was open for 2 years and did very, very well, I might add, but it actually closed because she had a grease fire in 2016. But she did not let that stop her. That's the one thing I love about this. She did not let it stop her. She moved down to Atlanta, and in 2018, she opened her restaurant, provocatively named The Slutty Vegan. And she does outstanding numbers. She has long lines, and she has recently opened, I believe she's opened a second brick and mortar location in Atlanta, and I think she has like 2 or 3 food trucks. So she is growing extremely rapid, but she has turned her business into a $100 million empire. But that is not why she is getting the Dope Shit Award. In 2019, now she went to Clark Atlanta University, and in 2019, I think this is just great. In 2019, she paid the full tuition for 30 Clark Atlanta University seniors. And I think that right there is just awesome. You know what I mean? For somebody to care enough about their classmates to do something, positive for them so that they can continue and not have to stress out about that. But even that is not why she is getting the Dope Shit Award. This year, 2022, this year, she at her alma mater, Clark Atlanta University, she gifted every single graduate their very own LLC and presented it to them at the ceremony. She gave these people their very own LLC. Now, I'm not sure what it entails, if it was tied to her business or if it was an LLC of their choosing, but she gifted them an LLC, and the bill for that, because there were so many people, the bill was over $400,000. So she basically gave away $400,000 to graduating class, this year's graduating class from Atlanta. Where was it? It's the Clark Atlanta University. And I tell you what, man, that to me is the dopest shit ever, because she just basically empowered all those people. You know what I'm saying? A lot of them were probably like, I'm going to graduate and, go get a job and start a career, and I'll work for somebody, and I'll grow old, and, I'll retire. But she put in everybody's brain that day that I too can be an entrepreneur and business owner. And my hat's off to her, because it's, Clark University is a majority black school. And I'm going to tell you what, I love it. I love the fact that she empowered all these black young men and women to go out and aspire to start their own business. And she's only 34 years old herself. You know what I'm saying? She's only 34 years old, and this chick right here is a monster. You know what I'm saying? She's going to be huge. She is going to be so big. And I think that is so great for our community and our people to have role models like that to look up to. Because, it's cool to look up to some rappers every now and then, but after a while, it's just not, it's just not, it's not sustainable. Something like this is something that is tangible for everybody. This lady really literally went out on a limb for all these people to help them get their future started. And for that, Aisha Clark, Pinky Clark, dear, you get this week's Dope Shit Award on the Deron Harris program. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for that. My father would love this story too, because he was an educator. He's retired now, but he was an educator. He would absolutely love this. So I think that what she did is it is a good gesture, and it needs to happen more often, man. More people need to stand up, especially people making money, man. If you come out of a situation that's bad, go back to the situation and try and make it good for some other people, man, because that's how we bring each other up, because nobody else is going to bring us up. We got to bring ourselves up. So, like I said, shout out and hats off to this girl for doing that for all these young black men and women. So that is today's Dope Shit Award. What am I listening to this week, though? Today's earbuds, I've actually been listening to this band for a long time, and I loved them from the minute that I heard them. They have a very, very unique sound. They are an alternative R&B, progressive soul, and trip hop band. And they're from Los Angeles, and their group, the name is really, it's weird at the same time. I'm not really, they're called The Internet, and that's the name of their band, The Internet. And like I said, they're from Los Angeles, but their music is just so silky smooth. The girl, the lead singer of the band, she has such a silky voice, but she does not look like her voice if you were to look at her. She really doesn't. But she has one of the just the most hypnotizing voices that I've ever heard. And along with the instrumentation, they have just a funky, groovy sound that's real sultry, like forward, just like futuristic, almost like a futuristic R&B type, like R&B soul type movement. It's it's you got to listen to it. Now they have like 3 albums, I think, like 3 or 4 albums. My favorite one is Ego Death, and it came out in 2008. It came out in 2015, but they have 2011's Purple Naked Ladies, 2013's Feel Good, 2015's Ego Death, which is my favorite. They got a track on there called You Fucked Up. I love that shit. And 2018's Hive Mind. And if you have access and you're able to go and see these people in concert, or go, like, look on YouTube, go on YouTube. I got a lot of my knowledge about them and saw a lot of their performances through YouTube, because I had only heard a few of their tracks and I really didn't know the name of the band for a long time. I just heard the tracks. And I was like, wow, who is this band and what genre of music is this? And then my man Deja, shout out to my man Deja Rains, he actually got the name and found the name for me. So once I figured out what the name was, I did a little bit more research, did a little bit more digging, found out that I really enjoy this band. And I think that it's something that everybody, if you're listening to my podcast and you like my podcast and you digging my vibe and you feeling who I am and all that bullshit, blah, 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 then you're going to dig this band. So definitely check them out. They're called The Internet. They're from LA. They got 4 albums, and they are a force to be reckoned with. Now I'm waiting for some new shit. Like I said, I've been listening to Ego Death 2015, and the last one that I've seen that they put out was Hive Mind back in 2018. But I'm waiting for some new shit. So, come on, y'all. If you're listening to me, if you're out listening to me, I would love to hear some new music from y'all, man. So, big fan over here. So, hats off, and that's what I'm listening to this week on EarBuds. This week's strain of the week, brought to you by Leafly, is it's my first indica. I think it's my first full indica that I'm actually featuring on my show. Check that shit out right there. Look at that. I usually stick to sativas because I like to get things done. I like to be progressive and proactive and get out and get my shit done. And a lot of indicas, especially the higher powered ones, they kind of have a tendency to knock you out and make you lethargic and not, get you to where you're not really doing much. But I will give I'm just going to say it's True OG. Now, I know a lot of people have probably heard of True OG. It's a very popular strain. It's out there. You can probably get it at most dispensaries or most places that you go, or, maybe a man off the street or whatever. But the True OG indica is it gets 4.5 stars from Leafly, and I give it 4 stars, 4.5 stars. It was really cool, man. It was calming, but it didn't make me go to sleep. It didn't knock me out. I was still able to get up and produce some music, go out and have some time with my wife. We went and walked the dogs and and just hung out, and we she's usually afraid of it also, because she doesn't want to go to sleep, or she wants to be productive, what I'm saying? And that is our thing. We didn't want to we didn't want to be these lethargic heads that just sit on the couch and do nothing. We wanted to actually get the medicinal qualities out of the strains that we try, and out of this whole situation to begin with. We wanted to approach this from a medicinal standpoint as opposed to a recreational standpoint. And I will tell you what, and although there are recreational qualities, the medicinal qualities are actually really good to this. Now, a lot of people says that it makes them sleepy, but I didn't experience that at all. I wasn't lethargic, and I think we smoked a couple of pre-rolls, and it didn't really do anything. I was able to still get up and cook dinner and wash dishes and come over here and write on my podcast and do a lot of things that I would normally do on any sativa. So but one thing it did, it made me really hungry. It made me really, really hungry, and that was kind of bad because it made me eat a lot of bad shit and give myself some bad heartburn. And so I got to kind of slow it down to keep in my mind that this strain right here, if I'm having some issues with my appetite, this is actually a really, really good strain to have. But people did report that it gave them dry eyes and dry mouth and a headache, which I didn't have any of the headache, but I did have a little bit of cotton mouth. No dry eyes though, but I didn't get the headache at all. Didn't have really much of those problems except for the dry mouth, which the food and kind of took care of that. So it was overall it was really good. I give it a 4.5, just like Leafly does. It didn't help as much with the pain because I look for a lot of pain management because I am in a lot of pain, but it didn't help with a lot of pain, but it was still enjoyable and it still helped me get stuff done. So today's strain of the week is True OG, and I highly recommend it if you can go out and find it. Okay, moving right along. What's popping this week, folks? What is popping this week? What's popping this week is a continuation of last week, but I actually sat down and I had a conversation via Zoom call with my wife, which I actually recorded the audio, and I am going to I took an excerpt out, which I am going to air and let everybody listen to our conversation. So if you guys have a little bit of time, without any further ado, I'd like to bring on my wife as my first guest. Her name is Ivonne Harris, and she did a fantastic job. But this next clip is an excerpt of us having a conversation about our relationship. So sit tight, and I hope you enjoy this. Hey folks, welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Deron Harris. I have a very special guest today on my podcast. Now, last week, if you guys tuned in, you know that I had some things to say about relationship goals and relationships and things about relationships. Well, my wife was listening to the podcast when I was doing it as she was working, and she had mentioned, she had a few comments after I had got off, and I was like, wow, that was really good. Very poignant things that she had to say. I just wish that they could have been on the podcast when I was recording, and I just decided to kind of carry over and continue, make today's podcast a continuation of last week's podcast. So today's guest on my podcast is none other than my wife, my partner in crime, Ivonne Harris. So welcome, Ivonne Harris, to the Deron Harris podcast.
Hi, babe.
What's up, baby? What's popping?
Hey.
Cheers, girl. Ding. Let's have a quick, fast toast. So last week I was podcasting. You was checking me out from over there. I know you was checking.
I know. I was giving you that.
I thought you giving it to me, girl. So last week I was podcasting, and I was talking about a few things, and I had it was a phrase that I had that I said that my sister actually said, which was, when you're first meeting a person, you're not really meeting that person, you're meeting their representative. And you had something that you had wanted to kind of add to that.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting that you said that, because it is true, my opinion, that, sometimes you do meet that person's representative. Everything's cute at first, honeymoon phase, and then bam. That.
Yeah, you get like the real motherfucker. Like, who is this dude?
Oh shit. But with you, I didn't feel that way, because on our first date, when I arrived at your house, you had your friends over, right. And at first I thought that was like, like, weird.
What the fuck, this dude has his fucking friends at his fucking
Yeah, I remember saying, hey, you know what, we can reschedule, or can come back at a later time. And that's exactly what you said. So I was like, okay, cool.
Nope, no rescheduling.
It was great because you were authentic. You were yourself.
Right. Well, you got to see who I was, because like my best friends were there. So
yes,
I had to really be kind of true to myself anyway, because if I was on some other try to Mac Daddy some shit, my friend was just going to call me out on that shit.
Well, anyways. Also facial expression says it all. I look at facial expressions. So, I was kind of looking around like, every time you said something, but I really think that people need to do that more often on first dates. I mean, I'm not saying bring your friends along, but it would be nice to bring that first date around your friends,
around some people that are some people that
know you, friends or family,
right.
And I just think, it was great.
It was,
honestly, I was able to get to know you.
Well, our date was, exactly. It was you really getting to know a real piece of me, not like, some dude, like you just met this dude. I'm trying to put up my my best, trying to get the pussy, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't that. It was, I wanted you to know who I was as an actual person, not the covered up dude. Because look at me, I look like Chewbacca. You look like a goddess.
No, you don't.
But I wanted you to know who I was. Yeah, I actually grew this beard for you.
I know. I love it. Look at you,
But
just doing stuff for me. Well,
I
it's
wanted,
love.
I wanted you. Yeah, I wanted you to know who I was as an actual person. So, and that was very much in my head when I was talking, when I was meeting. It was what my sister said. That representative. Do you want to show her yourself, or do you want to show her your representative? And for me, it was, as you can see, it was better for me to show you who I actually was, as opposed to showing you, some dude that, doesn't have mood swings, or some dude that doesn't have any kind of faults or something like that. Because everybody.
Well, no, also you weren't on some fake good morning, good night.
Right.
You're just like, look, come over.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah. Come on. Yeah.
Come on over. We're going to go and have a good time. And it was a good time. We had a great first date.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's what the goal was, is to figure out a way to connect, and that's the best thing in a relationship, is to figure out, or to have a connection with somebody that you feel that is genuine between the two parties.
Right.
Which right off the bat, immediately we had that. I mean, we laughed.
Yeah, we connected like.
Well,
it was
an
8-hour date.
Yeah, it was an 8-hour date. And not only did you come over, not only did you come over to my friends, then we went to another friend's house.
We did. And I was just like, I was like, what? I was like, I'm going to be honest. At some point I was like, listen, I'm hungry. When are you going to feed me? Because that's what we do on a first date. Feed me.
Yep.
And take me to see something nice. Let's go explore, which you did. We ended up eating pizza, and
we went to a place where we had on the beach, where we had a dish called sopa de mare.
It was great.
And she had just come from Chicago, so I wanted to be her introduction to where we live at here in Florida. So, and I've been here for a while, so I kind of know my way around. So I wanted to show her a good time and take her to a couple of places that I thought would, give us an opportunity to connect. Which it did.
Yeah. Outside of everyone else, we had a minute to just, just be intimate. Just,
well, it was planned. It was planned. Right. I really kind of, my friends are here, but I didn't know they were first going, but then when they left, like I said, we had an 8-hour date.
Right.
But after they left, we still managed to be able to carry on with our date and go about our business and find that connection. So
yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, it was very nice. And there were times where I thought that, I was like, well, I don't know if this is this person, or if she's actually this person, or is, she's going to freak out somebody at some point. She's going to blow up. But like I said, even though I did meet your representative was very accurate of your actual person, of the person that you were representing. So it was very, very accurate. So in that, I had it was a very pleasant experience with that. So is there anything else that you there was a few things we had talked about.
Yes, there was a few things. 1 second.
Yeah, take your time, girl. Take your time. Take your time.
All these things go through my mind.
Yeah.
Oh, you did make a good point. We don't know what to expect.
Right.
So to me, like, I just say with anything in life, just, we live with expectations, right? So what happens is, I feel like I met you at the right time. I had just relocated from Chicago. I just moved here from Chicago, and I was like, I was free spirit. I came here with the hopes of just, exploring the state and meeting someone that can do that with me, that can be adventurous and spontaneous. And
met the most foolish motherfucker in Florida.
But what was cool is that I met you, and it was just very authentic. It was supposed to happen. Like, I truly believe that God, he knew what he was doing. It's just okay, for 20 years, I've been talking about relocating to Florida.
Right.
And not only Florida, but Orlando.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. You were in Chicago for a long time, but you didn't find I'm sure. I mean, I know you dated people there, and we've talked about some of the people that you. I mean, why was it not? Why was Chicago not the place to find your person?
I mean,
what do you think? Why do you think? I mean,
several reasons. I guess people weren't ready. Just it, now the way I see it, I mean, I'm married to you, right? So it was never supposed to happen.
Right.
It was, you meet people for a reason, but it's just for connection. People connect for some time, but it's
right. That's okay.
It's
we got a dog in the
background. We have a dog who's just acting crazy, but
that's all right. We do our podcast.
I mean, for the same reason.
Please stop.
Well, it's not for the same reason because I don't. We all been in relationships, but it just doesn't. It doesn't work out. And some you just realize that actually we were better off just as friends, and some you just don't ever want to hear from ever again, or maybe. One party wasn't ready. The other one was trying to follow their career, whatever it may have been. There's so many reasons why things didn't work out and
why this did.
And like I said, I was supposed to be here like 15, 20 years ago, moved here.
But if you never came here, if you came here 15, 20 years ago, then
I would have never met you. And that's why
never been here.
I left Chicago just the happiest, just the happiest person. I came here very open-minded, and I think that's what happened. And I met you because you were the person that, I kind of, been praying. Prayer works, ladies.
Right. I heard that.
For your man.
Tell him, girl. You let him know
he's out there.
Tell him and you know what? That's very good that you said that, because I do believe that. I do believe that there is somebody out there that fits a person. Like we fit, we fit. Now, not to say, we do have, some fights from time to time. We don't fight very often, but when we do fight, it's pretty moderate. It's pretty all right.
Right.
We bang around with.
Listen, that's the representative. Actually, that's not even the representative when the fights. Well, we don't fight. We just disagree.
Right. We have disagreements. We have heavy disagreements
that get a little heated.
Right. But we don't really fight like that, and the thing about it is we try not to fight like that. We try, but not, I think that we have a very good relationship because we are able to communicate to each other. We can slow each other down. Sometimes it does take, every now and then we'll have a bad one, but most fights or most of our disagreements, it's, we kind of get by relatively quickly, and just to kind of, just to.
Yeah, we do. And I mean, not to cut you off. Sorry.
That's okay.
We get by too, because you tend to sometimes be like, look, listen, we need to talk.
Sometimes.
I said sorry one time without you having to
see, but and
then speaking of that, and that's where I was going to go with that it doesn't last long, the arguments that we have, because you kind of tend to diffuse it just because the way you handle it is different from the way I handle it. I need my space, and I'm going to go to the room, and I just need a minute because something triggered me,
I need a minute where I act like I don't give a shit about you.
And that's not true, because I love you. And you know this.
Yes, you were right. I do know.
But I get it,
right.
But we try not to make it last too long, because we're wasting time. I mean, time is being wasted. Then we're mad for what?
Well, I don't think we especially when we fight, I don't think we come from a place of resentment. I think a lot of people, when they fight with each other, they come from a place of resentment. So that's why their fights either last longer or they say things. Now, there's been a few times when we say some off-color things to each other, but we try not to call each other outside of our names. We try to stick, to the topic. Every now and then we go back into crates. We dig into crates.
We do. That's that monster coming out in us. Because we be like, put it back in there.
Yeah, put it back in there.
Because you don't want that. And that's the thing. their whole purpose of being with somebody, right? It's not so that they can, so that that ugly side of you comes out. That's not the purpose of a relationship. The relationship should be, I mean, we're all going to have issues, right? We all have issues, and there's going to be some disagreements, but the purpose of a relationship is not that. It's not to always be mad and arguing. It's to be happy and loving and caring and
experience great
wonderful memories. And I mean, I love that about you. That's what I love about you. You're spontaneous like I am, and you're adventurous. And
that's what I meant. We fit, we fit. I mean, whatever happened, and like, not for nothing, not only did we fit, we got lucky because we met on a dating app. We met on Tinder. You know what I'm saying? Straight up. My opening phrase on Tinder was, "I ain't cash apping you shit." That was what I put on my Tinder profile. I put what was it? It was a sugar daddy equals dumbass, sugar baby equals lazy ass.
And I was like, what is wrong with this man? What happened to him?
Yeah. And bunch of bullshit.
Yeah. And that's what you were telling me, So I was like, wow. But to see it from a man's perspective, what you go through on those apps, obviously, you already know most of the women. I mean, I'm not going to speak for women, but there's pervs on their side at times.
Absolutely.
Not obviously, you're a perv.
Yeah, right.
But it can get a little creepy, but it depends. I'm the one making decisions for myself, right? So I have to filter out those people. And there was a few people that I was like, you're creepy. And you were there not being creepy. And I was like, well, look at him. I need to know the man that's not creepy. Where's he at? Knock, knock. Remember, I was like, hello, you're taking too long to respond.
Right. Yeah. It was the last day. It was the last day. She was about to unmatch me, and I sent her a message that said, "Here's my number if you want to message me off this app sometime." And she did. And the first time we talked for like 3 hours.
Yes.
And then the rest is history. I think you went home like for 1 week.
I know, and then
show your ass.
But what's funny is that even the same night that I met you, you kind of like warned me a little bit. You gave me a little warning, like, "Hey, listen, I'm not a creep, but I think I might like snatch you up."
Yeah,
and I was like, "Oh, yes, keep talking to me." Usually, other people probably be like, "Oh," and I was like, "Yeah, what else?"
Yeah, that was pretty decent. That was a good night.
Yes, it was.
Called me up on some, like, looking for something to do. Yeah, come on by the club. I got you. Anyway, the rest is history. But yeah, I mean, people, as far as relationships are concerned, one thing that I do notice is people forget that relationships are exactly that. It's a way of relating to each other. And people forget that. And they forget that when they first fell in love, they related to each other.
Yes.
But I listened to Anthony Robbins, and he said something very good. He said, people who don't share the same nature, it's not to say that they won't be able to sustain a relationship, but it will be very challenging, extremely difficult to sustain a relationship with somebody that you do not share the same nature as.
That's like, good.
Both of us share a similar nature. We're kind, we're nurturing, we're happy. Well, to a degree.
Oh, you think I'm kind?
I don't know. Sometimes you think every fucking body trying to set you up, everything is just set up. Who is this bitch?
I'm from Chicago. I got trust issues.
I'm from Brooklyn.
I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Every 3 seconds when I was walking, it's like
everything is a setup.
Yeah, everything's a setup. I didn't mean it that way, but
girls selling lemonade. It's a setup.
I know. I'm like, don't trust that. That's suspect. Everything's suspect.
But yeah, I mean, so. I definitely want to, that's one of the reasons I started the podcast or put the segment relationship goals in the podcast for a couple of reasons. Is to navigate past all that bullshit. I wrote, which I'm probably going to start bringing it on the podcast. I wrote those 37 lessons.
Yeah. Which are great.
I wrote those 37 lessons. Yeah, which I really want to. I want to maybe focus in on one of those at the end of the relationship. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how I'm going to.
I think they're great, and those lessons. I mean, when you read them out loud, I was like, oh yeah, I know that one and that one. And I wanted to say another thing. Now that we're talking about relationships and the types. You said a lot of people don't know the type of relationship. First, you have to figure out the type of relationship you're in.
Absolutely.
And that is really actually, that is like the first scene,
That's
right?
paramount. That's paramount.
Because again, with you were the one that approached me. You were like, "Hey, I like you," and I was
Right.
like, "Okay, yeah."
Yeah, I was like,
I've
nah, you
heard
don't
that
get it.
I've heard that many times. So, but in my brain, I'm like, okay, you like me, and or but it was going to be one and or
Right.
but.
But.
Yeah, I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and I left it like that. But
And
you
I
said,
said,
no, I don't
no.
think you understand me. I like you, and that right there, I knew what you were saying. With you didn't have to say anything else to
Yeah.
me, and I was like, okay, you're saying you like me, you
Yeah.
want to get to know me, and
I
so
want to
from
get to
there,
know you. I don't want to, I want to know you.
right?
You know what I'm saying? I want to be able to relate to you. It was important for
And
me to.
that's where you're different.
Right. Well,
And that's where you're different because you said it. You weren't. I mean, you could have kept it going. We could have just keep seeing each other and try to figure out what it was. Or eventually, I was going to be like, "Hey, what is this?"
right. No, I had to let you know because I
But you
didn't
let
want
me
somebody else.
know, right? And
I
that's
didn't.
what you said.
I
You were
did
like,
not
"Look,
want
you just
anybody
got
else.
here, and
Yeah, I said
I
I
don't want to be
know.
in your way,
Right.
but I like you." And after that, I like. I got rid of Tinder. I was like, all right, you know what? Put that to the side. And if it doesn't work out, whatever, I can
Yeah.
get back on it. But I didn't even think that way. I was just like, he likes me. He wants to get to know me. And after that statement, the only thing I can do is sit back and watch you. I mean, you said you like me, you want to get to know me. Okay, so then how are you going to show me that? And
Right.
you did,
That was right.
time is really important to me. I don't like my time being wasted.
Right.
And I don't feel like you wasted my time, at all,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
A lot of things that we did were extremely spontaneous. That like the night
Mhm.
we walked around until 3 o'clock
Oh
in
my
the morning
God,
around
to
my
3 in the
neighborhood.
morning in the neighborhood.
Just walked around my
Just,
neighborhood, just walking around. We
but
did that a
those are
couple of
things that I
times.
like. And see, and that's what I'm saying. Like something that simple, just walking around. And
Right.
we walked around and we had great conversation. I just love the conversations we have.
And see, that's the thing. And that's what I'm talking about. We relate to each other well. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? We relate to each other. And not for nothing, it's very important for me to keep the relationship uh uh like updated and fresh,
Mm-hmm.
and just keep the lines of that relationship open. So that's one of the reasons I do, like I said, I do this segment on my podcast. And another reason that I actually had you come on to the podcast to explain that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the way that it's continuing, like I said, we laugh hysterically at least one time a day since we've met each other. At least one time a day,
Yeah.
we laugh hysterically at
And what's
something.
crazy is that I was like, oh, when I was praying over here, I was
Right.
just like, he's got to have a sense of humor. He's got to
Yeah.
be funny. And here, at first
Got you a
you were
fucking
like, oh, I'm a
comedian.
comedian. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like,
That's what everybody
dude,
says.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good luck
like,
with that.
whatever. But I can hear it in your voice when I first talked to you. First of all, I was like, oh, he's got like great voice. And then you were like, I'm a comedian. I was like, okay, where? And then you told me, I tried to stalk you. I Googled you right after I hung up.
Right.
And whatever.
I,
And then
well, thank you for thank you for making me feel special, even though it's not really a big deal.
and then I was like, all right, but that's the thing that you're funny. This
Thank
is
you.
crazy. You're funny. I'm not really crazy about comedy movies, but for some reason, when I'm with you, you'll be like, okay, let's watch this, which is another thing. You have me watching certain things I don't really watch. Like
Yeah,
you have
see,
me all in sci-fi and
see, I
doing
don't
things
watch a
that I
lot. I don't
normally don't
see. I
do.
don't watch a lot of comedy movies. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, a
Yeah,
lot of
but the
times,
ones you have me watch
yeah, some
sometimes,
of the ones are good though. The ones, see, that's the thing. It has to be a good movie because
yes.
I'm not gonna sit here and waste 2 hours on some bullshit. I'm just not gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? I will cut the movie off in 2 seconds. But some of the movies that, like, I remember when we watched Time Bandits. Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that movie was wild.
Yeah, see, good movie, but it was
But
old.
we watched it together. We watched
Mhm.
these crazy, freaky movies sometimes, and we'd be like, what did we just watch? But guess what? We enjoyed it because
Yeah,
we just
and the cool thing about it is we
had a
able to sit
connection
down,
like that.
watch it, and talk about it. Like
No,
we
you're
have it.
hilarious.
Yeah, no,
Watching a movie with this man is the funniest thing
no,
ever.
no, pales in comparison to this woman right here. Yes. I do enjoy being married to you. So,
Thank you. I enjoy being married to you.
yeah, you know what I mean? And we had the most ratchet wedding too. We had a ratchet ass wedding. Well,
It
actually,
was not. It was a beautiful
it
wedding. It
wasn't
was
ratchet. It was a very nice wedding.
non-traditional.
It was
Yeah.
non-traditional wedding. We had a non-traditional wedding. We had a beach wedding where we just had
On a low budget too. And I don't
yeah,
care on a low budget, but guess what? When you see the pictures on social media, you'll be like, oh.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, thanks to our friends that
Yeah, we had
helped,
a
our
lot of good people
family.
that pulled it off. And that's the thing. And that's also that validates our relationship. But even in that, when we got married, there were so many more relationships that were created.
Right.
You know what I'm
Which is
saying?
what we wanted.
Which is what we wanted.
That's what
So
we want because we have great energy. We want that energy, like for everyone to feel it. We received a lot of feedback, good feedback about the wedding,
right.
but that just goes to show who we are individually and when we come together.
Right. And I'll tell you what, and that is very true because we do have very like unique identities separate from each other. But when you put us together, it's like we kind of we complement each other extremely well.
Right.
And that's the thing. I mean, we finish each other's sentences, and I know that everybody says that, and it's kind of corny, but it is very true. When you find a person that you relate to on that deep level like that, things like that do happen, and things like that are precious. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So, while in my younger years, sometimes I may have done something stupid to screw something that was good up. Now that I'm older and I can realize and recognize what good things are and what blessings have been bestowed upon me,
True.
you know what I'm saying, to actually appreciate that and celebrate that and make sure that I nurture that so that it grows exponentially and nothing can break it, and that's my hope for our marriage, our relationship, our relationship, the relationship between our families, you know what I'm saying, the relationship with me and your sisters and you and my sisters and my family as well.
Right.
So, I want all those relationships to become solid and become tight, because of that, so I want new relationships to be forged between other family members and friends, based on our relationship.
Our relationship and the love that we have, because that's it too. We're just full of love.
We're just full of
So
love. You
full
sound like
of
fucking
love.
Care
I
Bear.
love you, babe.
You sound like a fucking gummy bear. I love you too.
This is what I'm talking about. This is that foolish stuff that we be on. Find you somebody too that's just.
I'm gonna tell you what. That's true.
You just let me be me. Like at first, I was like, at first people were like, "Well, I mean, does he know you're crazy?" And I'm like, "I'm not crazy.
But even
Everybody's
still,
got crazy in them. We're all different. It's not me being crazy. Just different."
You said it right. I had to let you be you because, like I said in the beginning of this segment, that you sell adult health and wellness toys. Which you have to go and be interactive with people about that. And once it became an official relationship, I started feeling some type of way when you started going to talk about sexual toys with other people. I was like, oh, wait a minute, you need to dial that back.
I know. I was like, oh no, you knew what I was doing when we met. But
I had to put in a place that this is who she was when I met her, and that she's here. You're here.
Right.
So it was just one of those things where I just kind of had to. You were about to say something. I don't know. Maybe I was.
Oh yeah, I was just like, I did tell you, when we first met, what I did. And then I also wanted you to feel comfortable that if I do go out, and network, that that's it. That's exactly what I'm doing. Just networking, I'm not out here just showering people with bullets.
Right.
And vibrators,
Also like bling.
Yeah.
Little vibrator fairy.
Yeah. No, it's not like that.
Well, thank goodness. Tell me a little bit about your podcast.
Okay, so my podcast, Intimate with Ivonne, is about empowering people to speak up and feel confident and talk about pleasurable conversations and relationships, and also embrace face their fears, not embrace their fears, but face their fears. Oftentimes fears just, hold us back from the
embrace
things we
your
want to
fears.
do.
Yeah, I'm fucking scared. It's just gonna stay like that.
No, face them. Like me, listen, real quick. I faced one of my fears, right?
Right. True.
Was to move out of Chicago. That was
right.
That's everybody thinks big like deal. It wasn't a big deal. As happy as I was to leave,
and
I
not
also
only
was
that,
sad.
not only that, you left Chicago. Not only did you leave Chicago, right? Mm-hmm. But you have family in Orlando. You don't have any family where you moved to. You moved someplace completely different with your daughter.
Yes.
And tried to make your way in a town somewhere in the South where was going to make your bones here, whether or not whatever it was. But
no, I got close to the water.
Yeah,
and that's another thing. I was expecting to move to Orlando, and I ended up in St. Petersburg.
Right. So
you never know where you're going to end up, and that was one of my biggest fears. People were freaking out like, hey, you don't have a job. You're about to move in 30 days. You didn't find a place to live. I moved here in 24 hours. I came here for an interview, and within 24 hours, I found an apartment, and I was like, okay, I know where I'm living, but it's just, I faced it, I was just like, it was scary, but it was worth it.
Right. Yeah. It was
worth it.
That makes me feel good. I'm gonna cry on my podcast. No, I'm not.
No.
But
no, he's not.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I really do. I want you to feel good. Mm-hmm. I want you to feel good. I want to feel good myself. You know what I'm saying? I want to have a good life, and in order to do that, the relationships that you make with people, you have to examine very closely. You know what I'm saying?
True.
In order to have a good life, because you don't want to fill your life up with a bunch of people. Because I got some people in my, no longer in my life that I'm like, man, how could I even, man, and when I look back, I'm just like, that shit is so wow that I would even go that direction. But
right. But at that time, that's
you don't know. You have to, but you have to
go
though.
through that. Those are life lessons, because you have to go through that sometimes.
Well, that's where a lot of the lessons that I wrote down, that's where a lot of them came from, is going through. And it was not just one person. It was, it was a bunch of people. And sometimes it was people that I wasn't romantically involved with.
That's what I'm saying. Friendships, all kinds of ships
that just do you dirty. Them. Yeah. All
friendships,
kinds of ships.
friendships, relationships, because you have to be my friend, right? How can I be married to someone I just see just as my husband? No, you're also my best friend. You're my friend. If I have issues, I'm going to go to you first. And I always come to you, actually. If I have issues, if I need a hug, whatever. So I just feel like you have to build a friendship first. When you're in this relationship that you're trying to build with somebody, should, consider them as a friend instead of running to your friends.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. What happened, baby? It looks like you're having some technical difficulties.
My battery's low.
Okay. Yeah, we're wrapping it up anyway. So, any closing remarks? Anything you want to say to anybody? Any advice you want to give? Anything you want to leave the audience with?
The one advice that I can tell people is just to be in relationship, right? It's just to be honest. Yeah. Be honest and be caring, be loving, listen. I think listening is very important. Communicating is definitely
apologize.
Yeah, that too. You must say, I'm sorry. There's this TikTok though that's going around real quick where ladies are like, hey, when you like they're in the front of the mirror, like getting pumped, ready to apologize to their spouse. And then they show up and they're just like, yeah, you know what? You did this, you did that, this is why I'm mad. And I was like, yeah, that's me.
See,
I pump myself to say sorry, but then
I've learned when you are apologizing to me, because you don't speak for a while, but then there'll be a sandwich that shows up.
Yeah.
And a glass of juice or da-da-da-da-da.
It's like, here, babe. Here, are you hungry? I know that I'm really not talking to you right now, but are you hungry? Great.
That's true. Yeah, we fought on our wedding day, like the day before and our wedding day. I'm gonna have an attitude. I just want you. I'm gonna marry you, but I'm gonna.
I was a little upset. So yeah, I was just like, look, I'm gonna marry you. We're gonna show up, but what's gonna happen is I'm gonna be a little upset. He was like, okay, whatever, as long
Yeah,
as you
whatever.
show
Yeah,
up.
just show your ass up, and we won't have no
And
problems.
then we showed up and we shook each other's hand.
I tell you what. We stood at the car and we shook each other's hand, and we stepped out onto that sand, and everything changed.
Everything changed.
Everything changed.
It was great.
All the shit it was just everything we fought about was so insignificant.
It's so minute when you think about it. It's just like, what were we doing?
Yeah,
we wasted a whole day.
And it was the devil. It was the devil saying, all right.
That's true.
You know, it was the devil.
I believe that.
And I think it was a combination of both. Do you all really want to do this?
Mm-hmm.
And here we are. And yes, we did.
Like, girl, you prayed for this, man. What you going to do now? You going to walk away?
Mm-hmm.
And the devil's like, yeah. And God's like, nah. And I was like, no, I'm here.
That's right. My guest today has been my wife, Ivonne Torres. I am your host, Deron Harris. Thank you very much for tuning in. And anybody who is working on their relationship, you know, I invite you to do an exercise that I heard from Anthony Robbins. Again, I'll reference Anthony Robbins. Write down your perfect mate. Write down your perfect mate, you know, and write down your must-haves. You know what I'm saying? Now, you're not going to, write down everything that you would do with this person. Everything. Write it all.
Be detailed. Don't just be like sense of humor. Like, be
exactly.
detailed about it, because some things, if you leave it out.
Yeah, be detailed. You should be detailed about it. You know what I mean? Because that's how you're going to get what you want. I was detailed about what I wanted. I wrote it down, and here she is. You know what I'm saying? So everybody who's working on their relationship, try this exercise. Write the perfect mate down. And then what you do is you begin to live as that person. Try and live as that person, that perfect mate that you wrote down. Try and live as that person. Oh, it looks like you dropped out on me. It doesn't matter, but try and live as that person. Oh, it stopped recording. Oh, no, it didn't. Anyway, let me go ahead and wrap it up. Try and live as that person, and those are the people that you will begin to attract if you don't have a relationship. And if you do have a relationship, if you start living as that person, the person that you are with will begin to start to try to meet your expectations. Or at least they should if you have a healthy relationship. And if they don't, then you need to kind of maybe do some soul searching. So again, thank you very much. I'm Deron Harris. And thank you very much. Okay, folks, I hope you enjoyed that. That was my wife, Ivonne Torres, sharing her thoughts and feelings on relationships. She had some very poignant things to say. I really liked what she had to say. She actually has her own podcast called Intimate with Ivonne, and in her podcast she basically details issues with dating. If you have any issues with dating, or you want to spice up your life in your bedroom, she also has a website where we sell adult wellness products called Your Pleasures. That's ur-pleasures.com, and you can log on to that, and she sells soap and all kinds of great things for health and wellness, on top of things to help you, to get it popping in the bedroom if you need that. So, and I got to say, she's pretty much an expert at that. She gives me treats all the time. So, I love you very much, babe. Thank you very much for being on my podcast, and hopefully we can have her back on soon. Maybe a whole episode or something like that. We can sit in and she can sit in on the podcast with me for the whole episode. So, and that's pretty much what's popping this week. This week, though, on relationship goals. Okay. And although we just did, 2 days or 2 episodes of relationship goals, I'm going to go right back at it. And this week's relationship goals are I want to ask my wife to write down what her perfect mate is, what the perfect person for her is. What is your perfect person. And I invite everybody else to do the same thing. And what's your perfect person? Who is that person? You know, I mean, who is that person for you and to you? And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to write down what my perfect person is. And then we're going to exchange those. And I'm going to read what she wrote. And maybe she'll come on and read what she wrote also. And then we're going to compare and see how close to that person we are. So I think that should be interesting. I think it might be fun exercise for everybody to try. So if you guys are down with it, next week, tune in to find out the results of how close to the perfect mate that my wife was asking for, and vice versa. So. And I think that is going to do it for this week's Deron Harris program. You can always follow me at DeronHarris.com. That's DeronHarris.com. You can get me on my social media. That's Deron Harris on Deron T. Harris on Facebook, and Deron Teray Harris on Instagram, or one of those two. But there's a T in the middle. My middle name is Teray, so take it as Deron, Deron. Teray is the middle. It's either T or Teray, and last name is Harris. Now you can follow me on any of the social media outlets. I have Instagram, I got Facebook, I got Twitter. Twitter is at Deron Harris. Very simple. And I even have TikTok at it's Deron motherfucking Harris. It's MUFUGGIN. So make sure you tune in to or follow me on social media. I do a bunch of silly shit on there. And I'm going to start doing some new things here in the future on the podcast. So I'm going to try to have more guests. If you'd like to be a guest or something like that, I'm going to maybe try and open up the floor where I can have some guests or people submit to my DM, and I can correspond with you, and I can have some people on as guests on my podcast to talk about some of the issues that they are challenged with. So again, thank you very much, folks, for tuning into the Deron Harris podcast. I love you all very much. There'll be another episode out next Friday, and like I like to do it. So I want to thank my wife, the man upstairs first, and my wife, my kids, my producer, and my best friend, and of course, every one of you that is listening to my podcast. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I love you all. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I'll see you back here. Thanks.